What I'm going to go through today is around Hike's agency specific features. So I assume everyone here today are either agency owners or work in an agency and using Hike for your clients' websites. You might be using it for your own website as well, but using it for your clients' websites. And we really have a big, a vast, I'd say probably over half of our revenue comes from agency users. So they're a real big portion of our customers, or of our revenue, probably more importantly. So we do try to develop as many agency features as we can. And it's hard to keep up with them all. Even I forget about them because Kieran and the development team are kind of pushing them out. And we've got loads in the pipeline, which I'll discuss, some which are just taking longer than we hope to come out, but hopefully shouldn't be too much longer. So I thought, this webinar would just be a nice point, beginning of the year, just to give you all a quick recap on the agency specific features. So I'm not really going to go through the main parts of the platform. If you missed the last webinar, and this is a nice segue into my first bit, which is the blog. And also, let me quickly get my list. I have a list of everything that I want to discuss, just like I did for the last webinar. Our blog is quite a useful resource if you've not really been here before. So it's just on hikeseo.co/blog, but you'll find all of our webinars are uploaded to our blog, as well as going to our Facebook pages, and they'll get emailed out, but they're always listed to our blog. So if you missed this webinar, which I think was last week, or it might have been just the Friday before then, I go through all the latest features on the Hike platform. So if you want an update on the functionality of all of these features and what the actual platform does on a website basis, then watch that webinar. Again, it's not too long. I think the webinar itself takes about 40 minutes, and then we have 20 minutes Q&A. I think today's webinar probably a bit shorter than that, or shorter before we get to the Q&A section. But head over to that, watch that webinar if you weren't on that webinar last week, or you haven't watched it since. I really recommend it. And then you'll find all of our other webinars. So how to build an SEO report, which we did for Christmas, quick and easy SEO wins for small businesses, news on the report builder. This is my second point. This is a blog post that we're trying to keep updated. It's called Hike's Resource Guide for new SEO agencies. So more relevant to you guys who maybe are just starting to sell SEO, but essentially all of the SEO content that we've created to support guys like yourself is all on this blog post, and we're trying to keep it up to date. So all of the videos, our How to Start Selling SEO webinar series is on here. SEO products you can build using Hike, so a couple of videos that teach you how to do that. Proposal documents and videos that you can use. How to build the SEO strategy, introduction webinar. I need to add actually the webinar we did last week and this one as well. And then also some blog posts. So have a look at that. If you're just getting new to Hike or getting new to selling SEO, for example, for you guys, that would be very beneficial. So, okay, great. I've done that one. Great. So I'm going to go through Hike's specific agency features. So the first place I want to start, because actually our most recent update is around the Audit Tool. So if anyone uses the Hike Audit Tool, if you don't know what the Hike Audit Tool is, let me just quickly show you here. So if you go to the Hike website and you go to leave our website, we have a pop-up, one of those really annoying pop-ups that, when you try and leave a website, it's like, don't go do this. I hate it, but it works. So we have this little report where we say, hey, get a free SEO report. It takes less than 1 minute to run, and you can get a quick snapshot and also get a taster of the platform, right? And then they add in their URL, their email address, their name, their phone number, it's optional. And then they press run report. And then once it runs, it looks something like this. So it gives them this one-pager report. So it kind of gives them their scores, what they get from a keywords point of view, on-site SEO, page speed and backlinks. And then they can click these and it just scrolls them down, and it kind of keeps it nicely in the navigation as well. Now you can white label this and use it yourself. You can have a form on your website, just like this, or you can just run these reports for clients and then just send them the PDF or send them the link. And when you do it, it'll be branded. So have your own logo here. Your own logo in the navigation, all of that stuff. So we launched this last year, maybe the year before. One of the big problems, it wasn't a problem, but it was a necessity in the way in which we built it, was that it was on a different domain. So it was on something called SEOhealth.co. So any of you guys that are users of this or have upgraded to white label and used the Audit Tool, you'll realize that you had to log into a separate platform. So you had your main my.hike.marketing, right, which is here. And then you had to log into seohealth.co, set up all your settings again, and have it on a different domain. So it was white labeled, but you had a subdomain on SEO Health. And we got a lot of requests from people saying it should, you want to get it on the actual main platforms. You're not going into two different places. So we've finally done that. It took a long time. It's one of those things where I'm a non-developer, so I'm like, oh, it should be easy to Kieran and the team, and that's not the case. So now it's been moved into Hike. So you can actually see now with the actual audit itself, it lives on my.hike.marketing, which basically means if you white label Hike and have your own custom domain, the audit will now live on your custom domain /health check. So it's much cleaner. You're not got this separate SEO Health subdomain. And it means also your settings are all in here. So if I go over to settings over here on the left, then what you'll see, if you go down, you'll see Audit Tool. Now, for everyone here who is already a white label user, so you've upgraded to white label, and you've already set up the Audit Tool previously, so on seohealth.co, the first page you'll get, which will say, transfer all of your data across. And you click that button, and what it does is it will transfer all of your data, so all of your settings, and populate it here. So that therefore you can access your audits and do everything just within the Hike platform instead of going to a separate place. You can still continue using SEO Health. It won't be deprecated, I think, probably for a couple of months. So you can still keep using that, but we would recommend just importing everything over to here. So you're not having to go to two different places. And also it then means the audit lives on your custom domain that you use for white label. So let me quickly run through what the settings are. You have the embed registration form. So that is essentially this bit, right? Let me close this down. So you can dictate what shows on this form, because it's a really simple bit of code you just add to your page. This is the code snippet. So you can change the button text, the button text color, and the button background, which is essentially this here. So you can change the color, the text. The form itself, the embeddable form, is just these 4 fields and this. So you just build your own page in WordPress or Squarespace or Wix and just copy and paste over the embed code, and then it just pull it onto your page. Really, really simple. You can choose on the registration form if you want to enable GDPR. So you have a little tick box for people at the bottom. And then you can add a URL to your GDPR policy. You can decide whether you want to have the phone number as a field. You don't have to have that as a field. You can just ask your leads for the name and email address, but you can actually ask the phone number if you want to follow up on that. And you can also add a reCAPTCHA. We have some customers who are actually getting hit by a lot of spam, a lot of bots. So what we enable you to do is you can set up a reCAPTCHA, a Google reCAPTCHA there, it's free. And then you put in your key and your secret, and then it adds a reCAPTCHA to your form. So if you are getting a lot of hits from bots, then it's really simple to do that. What you can also do then is your call to action button set. So this is within the actual order itself. So you see here, like, for example, this is one here, watch this video report. You can actually choose whatever you want to do with that button. So for example, you can use it, say, click here for a free SEO call, a call with one of our team. And then you can decide what you want to do with that button. So if we go back to the settings, you can choose it to be a link or actually just open up an email. So we have it as a link going through to a page that talks them through it. But you can set it up to go to your calendar so people can book in a call really, really quickly. So that's a nice little feature. And then the content sections as well. So you can edit, wrong URL. You can edit what goes into this bit just here, and also right at the bottom of it as well, just there. So then you can actually do it. You can set default content. So if every audit has those default piece of content, or you can actually set it on a audit by audit basis. So if you want to say, hey, John, here's your audit. We were discussing earlier, so I wanted to send this across. You can customize it on an audit by audit basis as well. So yes, I believe that should be pretty much it. Oh, finally, you can integrate it. So you can integrate the leads that you get using Zapier into any tool of your choice, basically, because Zapier connects with so many different CRM systems, email systems. So for example, we use Autopilot to send cold emails or to send email chains, drip campaigns. So we use Zapier to connect the leads that we get from Hike that go straight into Autopilot. And then we send anyone that does submits an audit, we send them a drip email campaign. And it can be based on actions, timings, etc. So if you do have a system like that set up, then you can set up Zapier to send the data, all of your leads from Hike that you get from the audit tool through to your CRM or email platform of choice. So yeah, that's really nifty as well. So let me just make sure I've ticked that one off. Okay, so next is just white label, as in like the general white label settings. If you've already got white label, you can drift away for the next few minutes, check your emails or whatever, but make sure you come back. So what is white label? White label gives you the ability to completely brand up the Hike platform. So if you want to resell Hike, we have a lot of customers who will resell Hike. So they'll brand it up, right? So they'll add their own logos, they'll have it on their own domain name, and then they'll resell it a lot of the time to clients who don't have big budgets right now. I'm sure there's a few people on this call who have a minimum retainer amount. It might be $1,000 a month or £500 a month. And you get some clients that come through and they just don't have that kind of budget, or they don't want to spend that kind of budget, right? So what people do is they white label Hike, and you can go to them and you go, well, look, you don't have £500 or $1,000, whatever it may be. Why not sign up to our DIY SEO tool and do it yourself? Save some money, but you can still do great SEO because our platform shows you exactly what to do, blah, blah, blah. And then they use that then as not as a way to get revenue, because obviously you can have markup, sell it for whatever you want, but because then you can keep a track on that client, right? You can keep a track on them and see how much SEO they're doing. And what you might find with some of them is actually they're not doing much themselves. So, they're using your DIY SEO tool, but they're not doing much. And you can see that in Hike. You can go to their actions and see how far the progress bar is. And if you see they're not doing much, then it's a nice way then to have the conversation with them about upselling them to your retainer packages, your monthly packages. So that's probably one of the most popular ways in which white label is used. Some other agencies just resell it. They've got no desire to use it as a tool to find new retainers. They just want to sell it almost in bulk. It's a volume game. So yeah, there's lots of ways in which people use white label, but let me run through what the settings enable you to do. So the first off and the most important thing is to host it on your own domain. So really, really simple. What you will have to do is set up the domain with your own domain hosting provider. So a lot of people use a subdomain on their own domain name, their agency domain. So let's say my agency website was Andy's SEO agency. I might set up a subdomain, platform.Andy's SEO agency. And I'd set that up and I'd come and type it in here. Make sure you click on this button here because you do have to set up the A record to point to that IP address for that new domain or subdomain, whatever you choose, and then click update there. Email settings, this is fairly new. So even for people who are white label users, you can now add in your own custom email address. And what that means is any emails that goes to your user from the platform will be sent via your email address. Now, at the moment, this is only being used in a couple of sections. So for example, username and password. So if you set up a user, it will be sent, their username and password will be sent to them using your email address. And also when I go to the report tool in a minute, any reports that you schedule and send from the platform will be sent via your email address. So that's where it's being used at the moment. We are going to be rolling out in the next couple of months, hopefully as soon as possible, the ability to send loads more emails via your custom email address. So things like your monthly action updates. So, you probably had emails where, hey, this month you completed 50% of your actions. Here's your top 5 to do or top 5 that need to be done next month. You get those monthly emails. You're going to be able to white label them to send them to your customers. The journalist outreach emails, you can be able to white label them and send them to your customers. Yeah, basically any email that we send to our users at the moment, which is more than just username and password, right? You're going to be able to white label and send. So that custom email address is going to be really, really important. So if you want to do that, make sure you go through and set that up. All of your image settings, so you can change all the logos and replace with your own. Branding settings, so the ability to select to have the help videos on, add your own company name, which is put in the page title. Use live chat if you want to set up your own live chat. Custom CSS, so if you want to really change up the design of the platform, like all of this stuff, then you can use custom CSS to do that. You'll need a designer, really, someone who knows their custom CSS. Or if not, you can read this guide. So this guide, it's a little bit long, but it's really helpful. And it teaches you how to use custom CSS to change the Hike platform. And even at the end, gives you a template. So you can just literally copy and paste in the template that's in that blog post, and it will change the Hike branding straight away. And then you can play with it. So really, really useful that. You can, if you want to sell actions to your customers. So under the actions, you have the ability to, if you go into Hike, the ability to purchase actions, which we do, you can actually offer that to your customers. So you can set your currency and your hourly rates and your price for citations, and then your customers can buy those actions from you. Please know they don't come directly to us. We don't fulfill those orders unless you want us to, but those orders will go to you. Upsell products, so you can sell content or you can sell packages. And then at the bottom, the ability to cancel. No one wants to cancel this. So yes, that is the white label. Hopefully that's been quite useful for you guys. One of the things actually that I didn't mention when it comes to white labeling, and one of our existing customers who's on the call mentioned today, and it reminded me, we actually have APIs. So if you white label Hike, but you wanted more of a deeper integration. So for example, if you have your own login area where your customers go to, and you've also white labeled Hike, you'll probably want them to click a button straight from their logged in area on your platform, your website, and just automatically get logged into your white label instance of Hike. We have a single sign-on API, which means you can connect them two together. So your customers can have like a seamless experience from your platform through to your white labeled version of Hike. We have a couple of APIs as well, like you can do an API for all of this. You can build this yourself. And we also have an API for basically everything. So all of the data you can get in Hike. So it might not be relevant for many of you, but for those that are, we have API available. API options available. Just get in contact, drop me an email, Andy@HikeSEO or support@HikeSEO.co, and we'll get back to you on that one. All right, nice. How are we getting on for time? 20 past. Okay, great. So next I want to head over to the reporting, because I don't want to run through these features too much, but reporting, super important for agencies. And really the report builder was mainly requested, and it is really designed for our agency users. A small business owner, we recommend they do, but a small business owner doesn't really set up a report to send to themselves because they're in the thick of it anyway, right? They can go to the reporting section and see all of this. We do recommend they set up reports, but it's really for our agency users, which is you guys, right? Now, reporting, having worked as an SEO for a long time, reporting's a pain. And we have our own done for you services. So we have like an agency arm to Hike, right, where we support our agencies or our small business users with our own done for you services. And reporting takes a long time. So we needed a solution for ourselves as much as for our customers. And that's where this report builder is. So I'm not going to run through the functionality of the report builder because we've done a lot of content on that. So if you head back to our blog, for example, I showed you earlier, there's a whole video on how to use the report builder. Also in last week's webinar, the latest Hike features, I run through there as well. So I'm not going to run through the ability, how to do a report now. I just want to show you two things which are kind of relevant for agencies. And first is creating a template, which is something that Adam asked last week on the regular webinars. If you're an agency and you can create templates, right? So you can create a template, which means you can reuse that template. Often what you'll want to do is reuse that template across all of the websites in your account. So for all of your clients in Hike, not just one client at a time, you have to replicate that template. It's really, really simple to set it up that way. So if you go to my templates, if you can create a template really simply, right? If I just show you here, you can clone an existing report. So let's say I clone this to create a template. I'm not going to actually, because it's just going to probably confuse the system. I'll show you here. But once it does, you'll get this bit here. If you go to the settings of that template and you scroll down, you'll see this little box here, this little field called template scope. What that means is that's the scope in which that template is going to be visible. And you'll have two options. I mean, I've got three because I'm an admin, but you'll have website and organization. Website means that if you set it as website, that template can only be used on the active website. So if I set this up as website now, I could only use this template on the HikeSEO.co website within my account. Not ideal if you're an agency, right? What you want to set it to is organization, this one just here. What that means is then, and you can name it whatever you want, for all of your websites in your account, when you come to do the report, you can use that same template. So, that template where you've added in the structure of how you want it to be, where you've added in your logo, you've added in your colors, all of these settings, you can just then reuse it. And then it speeds up the time of creating a report for each of your clients tenfold if you can use the same template across all of them. So yeah, really, really important that template scope, set it to organization if you want the ability to use that report across multiple websites. I can't see why you wouldn't, to be honest, at least have the option. So you probably want to set it as organization as default. Okay, great. And then the next bit, which is very specific to agencies, is the scheduler. So here's a schedule that I set up earlier. Actually, let me go to reports and set one up from scratch. So if I go to report, let's say I want to schedule this. It looks a bit like this. So first, why would you want to schedule a report? So for your clients, you might want to send them a report every month, right? A report that has, for example, their keyword rankings, their analytics, their Google Search Console, their Google My Business stats, their citations, whatever it might be. So you can create a template that has all that data in, and then you can send it to them automatically once a month. So you have options, right? You can send it once, you can send it now, or you can send it daily. I don't think anyone will be reported on daily. Some clients are funny though, they might want to, whether it's maybe might be a really small report, for example, weekly or monthly. Send it once, you can send it immediately as well, which is handy if you want to test a report quickly. So let's say I set it to monthly. When it starts, so when you want those reports start, so I want it to be on the 1st of every month. So I set it for the 1st, then I want it to end probably at least there, right? And then you can decide what time of day you want to send it from. And then what you do is you set the report date range. And what that means is all the widgets that are in that report, whether it's the keyword rankings widget or the Google Analytics widgets or the Search Console, etc. widgets, will use the date range that you set here. So if I set the report start on the 1st of February and it's going to use the last 30 days, it's going to use the last 30 days of January as the data for that report. And then I can do a comparison. And it'll do previous periods, and then it'll take the previous 30 days before then. So you're doing this kind of month-on-month reporting that's always sending every single month. And then what it does is it confirms down here exactly what you're doing. So your next delivery is going to be on the 1st of Feb. The date range is going to be this in comparison to this, and the last delivery is going to be here. So yeah, really, really nice. Then if you go to continue, the next step gives you the ability to, well, actually, if you've set up, you know, like, well, I was earlier in the webinar, I was saying under the white label settings, you can set up a custom email address. If you've set up a custom email address, so andy@andysagency.com, let's set that as a custom email address, then the from email address will come from my own agency email address, which, yeah, you'll probably want to do, right? If you're sending reports to your clients, you will probably want to send it from your agency email address. So yeah, go back to your white label settings, add in that custom email address, and then all the reports that you send to clients from the platform, these automated scheduled reports, will be sent from that email address and not from mail@highcareseo.co. Then really simply, you add in the recipient email address, who you want it to go to, CC, so whether that's the CC in team members, your own team members, perhaps additional team members for the client, and then you put in your subject, and then you can write your email out. So really nice kind of WYSIWYG editor. You have these autofill tags. And if you use the autofill tags, just click on here and it shows you what those tags will populate as when the email's sent. And then you click save. And then that schedules that email. And then it will be sent to your clients whenever it's been scheduled to. And then in here, you can see my schedules. One thing I didn't mention at the beginning of the webinar, quite an important piece. If you've got any questions, feel free to put them in the chat now, because I know probably as I'm going quite quickly. You've probably got a question. I don't want you to forget it by the time we come to the Q&A section. So feel free to put your questions in the chat, and then I'll go back through the chat at the end. So yes, if you have any questions, either ask it at the end, that's fine. But if you want to just put it down now so you don't forget, feel free to put it in the chat. Okay, so that's reporting. So I've done that, and I've done that. Okay, next thing, which we don't communicate very well to our customers, and I kind of want to run through it here. The pricing for Hike. So as agencies, you charge per website that you add into Hike per month, right? Now, when you first start and you add your first couple of websites, the pricing's high, but we actually discount. We have pricing tiers. So the more websites you add into Hike, the cheaper the price becomes per website. So your first 0 to 2 websites will be charged these prices. So these are the prices that we advertise, and probably the price that you all signed up at, so it's £35 or $45. When you hit your 3rd website, it reduces down to £28 and $36. What's important to note though is that all of the websites reduce down to that price. So not just the 3rd onwards, all 3 websites on your account then will reduce to that new discounted pricing tier. Same thing, when you hit your 10th website, it drops down to £23 a month per website, $30, etc., etc. So you have those pricing tiers. If you want this information, obviously it's going to be here in this webinar. But if you want this information being sent to you so you have it, please let me know afterwards. I can send it to you. And then we have the same pricing tiers for hyperlocal as well, which discounts based on the amount of locations you have in your account. Okay, I want to mention that because not all of our agency users actually know about this discount tier. So hopefully more of you are aware if you weren't. Okay, great. So I'm probably going to be about another 5-10 minutes, and then we'll jump straight into the Q&A. So do hang on. If you've got questions, do hang on. We'll get there. Now, what I'm going to go through next, actually, a couple of features within the actual platform that are kind of specific for agencies. I said I wasn't going to focus on this, but I actually am. Because in the actions itself, again, one of the features which some of our agency users aren't aware of is the ability to add a manual action. And this is even more important now that you can create reports that will automatically pull through your completed actions every month and send to the client. So a lot of you guys will probably, like I have in the past, you'll have dedicated things you'll do from an SEO point of view for your clients, but sometimes there'll be some actions that a client just throws out of you, out of the blue. Can you review this blog post for me? Can you check out this competitor? You know, they've come out of nowhere, have a look at them, what they're doing, send me some info. You know, you get all these random requests for actions. And if you're using Hike to report on the work that you've done, but Hike's only reporting at the moment on the actions you're completing and which it's generated, then that's not going to be a true reflection of everything you've done for your client, right? So what's really nice is the ability to add a manual action. So let's say a client asks me to review John's Bakery down the road because they've suddenly started ranking out of nowhere. I want you to have a look into them and check out what they're doing. But you only spend 8 hours a month on that client, for example. That's going to take an hour or 2 hours out of your workload. You'll want to report on it so you can show them, hey, I actually did this action. So you can add in a manual action. So let's see if I can type while everyone's watching for bakery.com. Almost got away with it. Then you can do a little description, priority level, set it to high, and say it took you 2 hours, right? Add that action. Now that's been added as an action into here. What I can do now is I can complete that action. And then if I send the client the actions that I've completed, either here or within the reports that have been generated, then it's a truer reflection on all the work you've done for your client. Or even if your client, you know, if you've white labeled a platform, you've given your client access to come in, perhaps you want them to do something. This is another one where it's handy, right? If you want them to pay their latest invoice, check out this report video, answer this question that you've been wanting answered for ages. You can set it as an action, say, oh, please review this video. Oh, we need your information here. Then when they log in, they see it. So yeah, manual actions, really, really helpful. Underused, probably just under advertised by us guys, but it could be a nifty little thing for a lot of you guys. So yeah, I thought I'd mention that. Let's see what's next on the list. Nothing new, but something that I think can really help, especially in the content section, is the content wizard. We get a lot of our agency users to say how helpful this is for them. And I just want to make sure that all of our agency users are aware of it. So when you find a title using the content idea tool. So let's say I find a blog post title that I really want to write about, and you click the plus button, it's added to your content scrapboard. Now, what you can then do is you can run the content wizard. I use this one as an example as it's already ran, and it gives you a content brief, a content outline, which guides you on what you should be writing about for that blog post. So really, really helpful, whether it's, you know, yourself writing the blog post or you've got a content writer you send it to, and just send this with them. It really speeds up their time. But another thing, what you can do is you can actually add your own title. So if your clients asked you to write content around a specific title, then just add it in there. And you can add keywords, for example, and then you can run the content wizard on that. So it doesn't just have to be on anything that that we've suggested via the content idea tool, any of those titles. You can use it for any title that you want. So that can really help up speed up time. And then also under the actions, the content wizard here, which will generate your page title, meta description, H1. You know, we do this work for our clients. You know, writing metadata is such a resourceful thing. It's not incredibly difficult once you know the conventions you want to use, like keyword 1, keyword 2, company name, for example. But especially meta descriptions, they just take a long time. So if you're working for a new client and you've got to rewrite their metadata, it can be really helpful just to use the content wizard, because even if you don't use the exact wording, if it just helps you and you kind of play around with it and adapt it for your own tone of voice, I mean, you have different tone of voice options, but adapt it for the client's tone of voice, it can be really helpful. So that's a great feature for agencies, just to reduce the amount of resource you're spending on each client, ultimately make it more profitable, right? So yeah, I think the content wizard can be really helpful. Right, so that's everything I want to run through. I think the two things that I want to touch upon is just what's coming soon. Now, one I've already mentioned, which is the email manager, which will basically be, you'll see under here, you'll see this little email manager here. Any email that we send to our direct customers, so anyone that signs up to Hike, we send quite a lot of emails. You're going to have the ability to white label those emails and send them to your customers. And you're also going to be able to decide which email each customer or user actually gets. So let's say you want one user to get the monthly update emails, but not the Harrow emails. Then you can tick and choose of the emails you white label on a user by user level, which permissions or which emails you want them to receive. So it's going to give you full flexibility on creating white label emails, but also deciding what emails get sent on a user by user level. So that's going to be really, really nice. And then the next one is Merchant Center. So this is essentially going to give you the ability to have your own checkout on your white label instance of Hike, which means if someone wants to sign up to your white label version of Hike, you can send them directly to a checkout where you set the price in the terms, etc. And then they'll pay, set up their subscription and get accepted. Almost like, imagine someone signs up to Hike SEO, right? They go to our checkout page, they pay, it logs them straight into the platform. They've set their username and password, it's set up their subscription, and it's just running. It takes no work from us. You know, they pay the money and it doesn't take any work from us to set it up. Now, currently, if you're a white label user, you can't do that. If you have a client that wants to sign up to your white label instance, you have to add them into Hike, you have to create their username and password, you have to set up their subscription. So if you've got a direct debit or subscription platform, but that's not always the case, right? They're tricky. So the Merchant Centers can actually enable you to do that. It's using Stripe. So Stripe's the payment platform that we use. So it'll require you to set up a Stripe account for the moment, set up a Stripe account, and then you will then be able to set your prices and essentially just charge whatever you want, and you'll get the money instantly. You just pay us basically. We'll charge you the cost of the website itself, and then whatever you've added on top will just go straight into your Stripe account. So yeah, so that's a big one. We're at kind of the last level of testing that, which doesn't necessarily mean it's going to come out soon, right? Because the last level of testing, there's still so much. It's such a huge project because, you know, anything where finance is involved, then it has to, you don't want anything going wrong there. So that's something that we're working on. Yeah, so keep an eye on that. We're testing, final level testing at the moment, and we'll hopefully launch that very, very soon. But that is everything. Let me have a very quick look at my list. Yeah, coming soon, Merchant Center email platform. Yes, that's everything. So I think now we can move over to the questions. I have a look in the chat here. I can see there's, let's go back in the dashboard here. I can see there's 6 messages in the chat. So that's good. I know we've got Nadia on the call. However, I'm just going to go through them one by one because there's not too many on there. I think on the webinar last week, there was like 40 messages, kind of overwhelmed me a little bit. So now it was handy having Nadia there. But I'll go through it. So let's have a look at the questions that we've got. So Dave, adding the manual actions is a great reminder for the reporting. I forgot about that. Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you automate reports. Or actually, even if you don't, it's just handy, right? Because you're always doing additional things for your clients. And if you do sell them an hourly retainer, or even if you don't sell them an hourly retainer, but you organize your own work based on hours, then you want to make sure that you're reporting on everything that you've done within that hourly allowance so that your clients don't think, oh, they've only done 4 hours and I'm paying them for 8 hours. And you're like, oh no, it's because of these other 4 hours worth of things. You can then add them as a manual action. It will then get pulled through into the reporting. So yeah, handy little thing that we use that, for example. Oh, I'll tell you another reason why we use it. When you've added a website into Hike, so if you add a website into Hike, you get the ability to request a free strategy video. And what we'll essentially do is for that client, we'll go through, look at the strategy that you've built for them, and just give you some feedback, like on the keywords, the site mapping, the backlink opportunities, et cetera. And we record that in Loom. And then we embed the Loom video into a custom action. So the client then instead of just sending it to them via email, because we want to get them to log into the platform, then we send them the link to their actions. They go to their actions. It says, hey, watch your free video. They click on it. They can watch the video directly within Hike. So you can embed videos in there. Yeah, it's a nice little WYSIWYG editor that you can embed loads of stuff into there. Okay, next, Ray. It would be great if there was a possibility to translate the SEO report. It would be inconsistent, not very professional to have an English report on a Dutch website. I can help with translations, not a problem. Yeah, that is a good point, Ray. It is a good point. It's something that isn't going to be immediately on there. I would say, for being completely upfront, the vast majority of our user base are in English-speaking countries. That's who we target, because, yeah, we're based in the Midlands of the UK. We're not very good at speaking additional languages, and it's such a huge job to translate the reporting sections, translate the Hike platform as well. Not that it can't be done, and not that it won't do when we grow big enough. It'll become a necessity at that point. But I won't want to tell you when, because it's just not a huge priority at the moment. You know, the requests are fairly small compared to other requests. So yeah, but I'll bear you in mind, especially for Dutch when it comes to that. But thank you, Ray. Jim McDonald, can we set the reports to come to us and then send on to the client? For example, we send various reports to our clients to establish monthly managers. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that's probably how most people will use it. They schedule them to send to themselves, or even not schedule to send to themselves. They'll just go into the platform, create the report, download it, and send it to the client. That's probably good. I have to look at stats. Probably is going to be more popular, because most people, agencies, when they create a report, they don't want to send a template because it doesn't give you the ability to add commentary. You know, so with a lot of reports that we create, we'll have an initial page, which is like a summary of the main points. You know, your traffic's gone up by 20%. This keyword rank has gone up, but this has gone down. This is what we're going to be working on this month, etc., etc. If you schedule a report, automate it, you don't have the ability to do that. That's fine for some reports, but some agencies want to add that contextualization via commentary. So they'll use the report builder like that every single month and then send it on. So you can absolutely do that, Jim. That's probably the most popular use case. Darren, so talking about the merchant center, would it be using our own payment account like Stripe? So yes, if you already have a Stripe account, you'll be able to connect that to our merchant center, so you don't have to create a new one. I believe, I'm pretty sure that's the case. I'm fairly sure that's the case. If you don't have a Stripe account, we'll just walk you through how to create a Stripe account. Yeah, really, really simple. Gordon, the merchant center sounds very interesting. Automation is always good. Absolutely. You know, one of the biggest pains of you know, reselling Hike in a way, or charging customers for Hike, or even for SEO, is, you know, having to set up a subscription or a direct debit or a standing order. And clients, if you invoice your clients, it's a pain, right? Because clients don't always pay. If you have the ability, obviously, to just set up a subscription, and once they've added their card details, it automatically tries to take that payment every single month. So much easier, reduces the amount of time that you have to spend on, that kind of financing at the end of every month and chasing people up, which accumulates in terms of time, and it's an absolute killer. So yeah, through the merchant center, you'll be setting up subscriptions. So as soon as they sign up through your checkout page, add their card details, it will try and take that payment every single month. And then Darren, great, awesome. So yes, I assume if there's no more questions, get your questions in now. But yeah, I hope you've all found it very helpful. If there's anything that you think would be helpful, it's beginning of 2022, and you know, we want to make sure that it's always good to have a fresh look at, you know, where it's your personal life, your business, right? But we want to look at Hike and go, okay, are we doing the most we can for our customers? Are there resources? Are there features? Is there information that they desperately need in order to grow that we're not providing? And, you know, and then that dictates what we go on to create, whether it's a feature, or whether it's a guide, or whether it's a webinar, a blog post. So if there's anything you're going, it's really great what this is doing, but I still struggle. So one of the things we're gonna do, we're gonna start to implement a little video lessons. So as you know, we do done for you. So probably like you guys, you know, we sell Hike directly. People, you know, sometimes as a software, but then also we provide done for you services. And so because of that, we're using the Hike platform all the time in order to fulfill certain actions, whether that's keyword research, or building a content roadmap, or auditing bad backlinks. And so what we're going to start to do is do little video lessons on how to use the Hike platform to do these SEO activities, which is what, you know, you guys need to do for your clients. Auditing bad backlinks, that, you know, the platform's there, it's got all the data, and, you know, it's as simple as possible, but having a little video lesson that actually teaches you how one of our team would do that for a client using Hike, I think would be really helpful. So we're going to start to read these little mini video lessons on SEO activities that you can do. And not all of them will be using Hike. Some of them might be using something like Screaming Frog, for example, something a bit more technical. But I think that'll be helpful for our video, for our agency clients as well. So you can go, okay, what should I be doing for my client this month? Oh, here's a lesson or something I can do using this feature of Hike. That's great. That's what I should do for my client this month. So yeah, I think that would be kind of helpful. Dave, great. How about a quarterly or print webinar on what's been changing Google's algorithms and how it would affect us? Yes, I think that's a good idea. One thing actually I thought about, which kind of relates there, is some kind of like monthly roundtable, like an agency roundtable, where I don't know if we'd restrict numbers, for example, but a monthly event, which is on every single month, maybe the last week of the month, where agency owners, we can go on and we can talk about, okay, what's happened in Hike over the last month that's relevant for you guys? What's happened in Google over the last month that's relevant for your clients? Perhaps we can take like a problem client every month and we can run through it together and show you how I or how the team would diagnose what to do next. So some kind of, I don't know if monthly would be too often or not often enough. That would be kind of helpful. I mean, Dave, you said quarterly there. I guess that's Google algorithms. They don't really change monthly, or they probably do, they just don't tell us. So no, I think that's interesting. I think, yeah, let us think more about that. But I think more frequent touch points would be really helpful because, you know, it's difficult running SEO if you've not done it for years and years and years. And so having an environment where you can ask questions with like-minded agency owners and with ourselves here who can support, I think it's definitely would be valuable. I think it'd be valuable to us because we get constant feedback as well on where we can improve the platform, how we can help you guys sell more SEO, retain more SEO, etc. So yeah, Jim, I'd be interested. Yeah, all right, good sign. Yeah, that's really, really good. Okay, great stuff. Oh, sorry, MENA, if you want to answer on the website, do you have a competitor research tool? Yes, we do. So just very, very quickly, if you go over to strategy and go down to competition, you have the ability here to add in a competitor's website. Internet's running very, very slow, probably because I'm doing all this. You have the ability to add in a competitor's website. We'll pull through all the backlinks that the website's got. We'll pull through traffic data if we can get it. We'll pull through others. Oh, all the keywords or the top 100 keywords, and you can research that. So yes, you can do that. Okay, well, that's everything, guys. So thank you very, very much for joining this webinar. I hope you found it helpful. What I'll do, I will send out the video probably tomorrow morning because it takes a while to grab it from Zoom and then upload it. But yeah, I'll send it out tomorrow morning to everyone. I'll also send a link to the webinar we did last week, which is just an update on Hike's most recent features, which are valuable because you'll be using it for your client. So yes, I'll send that out tomorrow morning. If you have any questions in the meantime, please do send them on. If there are any questions coming through now, just hold fire. I'll respond to them in the chat. But everyone else, please feel free to jump off. Yeah, and have a great rest of your day.